Hey, what's going on, everyone? This is Sawcruhteez Streamz, and I am your host, Sawcruhteez. I appreciate everybody for tuning in today. Think this should be a pretty quick episode. Don't have a whole lot to talk about, and would like to keep this one brief, but it seems like I have quite a bit of trouble keeping them under an hour, so we'll see. Quick episode is definitely relative. So had a little bit of movement in the markets lately, and it's resulted in basically the same price that we have looked at last time. Had a little bit of a move down, then a little bit of a move up, and here we are right back around the 8,800 territory. So there are a few things that I will want to take a look at to update you with what I'm seeing, what I'm doing. And I did miss the weekly close video this Sunday. I wasn't able to find the time to do a stream this Sunday, so I will be going ahead and taking a look at the weekly close as well before finishing up. And I just want to give a few shout outs before diving into the chart. I see God's Cop was thinking that it would be a good time for Sawcruhteez and a beer, and you got me here. No beer just yet. It is about 3 in the afternoon where I'm at, and as a matter of fact, today is going to be the very first day of Pool League that I've been playing in for 5, 6, maybe even 7 years now. Every winter, things kind of shut down around my small little mountain town because we get a lot of snow. It starts getting dark around like 5 o'clock, and there really isn't much to do specifically on the weekdays. On the weekends, you can get out and do some skiing, that type of stuff, but on the weekdays, it can get a little bit depressing when it's pitch black at like 5 o'clock and just nothing to do after a long day's work. So that's where I love playing some pool and get to play every Tuesday night. It's really a great league. It's every bar in town that has a pool table has their own pool team, and a pool team consists of 4 players. My home bar is about a block away from where I live, and it's my favorite bar in town. They just have great people hanging out, and pool and ping pong and $2 PBRs. So these are a few of my favorite things, and I will be representing that team again this year, and we will be going down and playing an away game tonight at a bar that I don't like nearly as much, but heck, there's going to be cold Coors Lights and plenty of fun to be had. So wish me luck. Hopefully we get this year started off with a bang. And see some others in the chat. Stumbleline, Marcus, HA, Leo Money. How's it going, everyone? Thank you guys for tuning in. If you do have any questions, then feel free to leave them in the chat. I'll do my best to get to them. And if I do miss them, my apologies. Jorge Duarte says, cool hoodie. Thank you very much, man. Much appreciated. All right, let's dive into some charts. So first thing we're going to look at is just this bear channel along with some horizontals. Here is my horizontal resistance drawn at 87.63. Was support. Now expected to act as resistance, and that's what it has been doing over the last handful of candles. We'll see if that holds or if that doesn't. And then we've got a couple other horizontals that are based on this previous range. So this first one is drawn using the top of these wicks that occurred back here in September and October. Comes over that axis support right here, breaks down, so now I turn it red, expect it to be resistance. After this one broke down, look for the next area of horizontal support, and that is using the closes instead of the wicks. Draw that over, and that's where we did find some support on this one. And not only did we have horizontal support, we also had trend support, kind of like we saw back in here, where at the time this was expected to be support, and we were also at the bottom of a channel. So you have the channel support and the horizontal support, which did send us back up to the top of this channel. Go ahead and zoom out. See, this is what I'm viewing this current market structure as, at least on the 4-hour chart, is a bear channel, using these highs right here, connecting to some closes in here, keeping all wicks above, closes below, and then we do get a parallel boundary that we can connect to the bottom here, which found support here and resisted here. Now it's come back down and is trying to find support right in here. If that doesn't happen, it could get ugly. for a number of reasons. And I talked about in the last video 8600 being the crucial area of support. If that breaks down, then things do get a little bit scary. If we break that down, we may break this bear channel to the downside. If you're in a bearish channel and you break it to the downside, that is a very bad sign and tells you that you would expect to really accelerate to the downside. Inverse is true. If you have a bull channel and you break it to the upside, that's when you get these parabolic moves happening, where if you have like a channel right here and then you break through the upside like here, then you'll often get this like acceleration where this rate wasn't enough. So then when you kind of do this and then you break through that, then you expect it to really take off at a much steeper angle. So that's not what I'm saying I expect to happen, but it is something I'm paying attention to. If we break down my critical area of support, that would be breaking down horizontals and also would be in danger of breaking down the bottom of this channel, which I would then kind of do something like that and say I'd expect an accelerated trend line or channel to follow. But that's just what I'm watching out for, not what I'm necessarily expecting. I am long. I am still long. Was buying back in here and have been holding through here, really expecting this thing to break to the upside. When it failed to do so on this, it made me reevaluate, but as long as we are holding above this 8600, I'm feeling good and feeling like this is a very good place for this to find a bottom and a very good risk reward on a long. The last area, if we do end up breaking this down, the last area of support I'm going to be looking at is around 8317. That is due to the visible range volume profile. Notice how we've got high volume nodes waiting here around 84 down to 79. This 84 would be the last. That would be a very important area of support for me, and I really, if I'm thinking this thing's going to go higher, I really want to see it support above this high volume node around 85, and specifically above 86. So as we see, there is this gap in volume profile that still hasn't been filled. I mean, we came down and we kind of tested it, but it still hasn't filled, which tells me we may need more time in this 87 to 91 area to spend some time there to get some volume there to kind of go ahead and fill this, or maybe one big spike in volume would be able to fill it. But you don't want to see a bunch of high volume nodes surrounding a low volume node. That kind of tells you that this is a very logical place for consolidation. And let's see here, that if we do break through like something like that makes a lot of sense to me, where we continue to consolidate that area and then maybe break through the channel and come back to retest the bottom of that area. This is, if I had a gun to my head and was going to ask, what are you expecting? I don't know if it's expecting or hoping, because I'm already positioned, so we'll call it both, expecting and hoping that we consolidate this area, break through this channel, support on a throwback, and then take off to the upside. And if it takes a few days, maybe even a week, then we should be able to fill that gap in volume profile and everything will be set for another leg higher. Okay, so what is very crucial and tells me that we need to get back above 88 very soon is this incoming death cross. If we get this death cross, I'm out, and I'm probably going to be shorting, almost certainly. I view this as a really good risk reward on a long, but if it just runs right into a death cross, with my favorite moving averages on my favorite time period, with the price close to these EMAs, that's not only a sell signal, that's a short signal for me. So I would be exiting longs and likely entering shorts. And that's a good example of why I like buying as prices below bullish moving averages. When prices below bullish moving averages, if they do give you a death cross, you're probably going to be out at a roughly similar price to where you entered. And if they don't get a death cross, then you would expect a sharp reaction to the upside like we saw on the daily, where it's like, okay, we're below bullish moving averages. It's really starting to look like they're going to cross, and instead of crossing, you get a sharp reaction to the upside and then turn it into support. Let's go ahead and get this out of here, make it a little easier to see. Okay, so here was the 50 and 200 coming in for a cross. And if you were, buying as prices below bullish moving averages, and if it did cross, you're losing some money. But if it doesn't cross, then you should be, making some money. You should get this, a sharp reaction. When the moving averages get close to crossing, you expect volatility one way or the other. If they do cross, we expect to move to the downside. If they don't cross, we expect a significant pop to the upside. So this is an area where I would be looking to definitely time some volatility, and would have a preference for longs due to how we failed to get that death cross on the daily. That's a really strong sign, and we still have the bullish moving averages on the 4-hour. So it is turning the 200 into resistance pretty darn cleanly, but we haven't gotten the death cross just yet. So I'm expecting some volatility to happen soon. And if we don't get back above 88.75 in the next 24 hours, 24 to 36 hours, then I would expect us to get a death cross. And I would be out and flipping my position. It would be a good opportunity to go short. So I don't really have a strong opinion one way or the other. My strong opinion is that we should get volatility soon. And if we don't break above 88.70 in the next 24 to 36 hours, that volatility, I will be starting to really expect it to be to the downside. But until then, I'm fine holding on to my longs, and we'll be, hoping that we go ahead and break above and turn this back into support and take off with a big pump to the upside. But if that doesn't happen, I'll be managing risk, and we'll be just looking for that next position. Okay, so let's see here. Steve North on Twitter pointed out a bull div in the RSI in the 4-hour, so that's good to know. Divs in the RSI are definitely important to me. And this, what happened there, I wonder, points to the volatility potentially being to the upside, being that you have a bull div with price below these moving averages. Same thing happened on the daily. Let's check that out. Let's see here. Price below moving averages. Bull div in the RSI, and pop right before you get that cross. So this looks, kind of like a fractal in my opinion, where we're below the moving averages that are getting ready to posture for a death cross, but it's in an environment where, at least according to the RSI, we should be ready to go ahead and move up. Seeing that bull div in the RSI tells us oversold, and yeah, that is definitely something that I don't necessarily trade by itself, but I do look at in confluence with other indicators. That is a bull sign. If I'm expecting volatility and looking at the RSI, I would be expecting the volatility to be the upside, which I am. But doesn't really matter what I expect. All that matters is what happens, and that risk is properly managed. Okay, what else do we have for you? Take a look at the weekly close. See if there's any questions in the chat. Let's see here. Friendly Fire ZA says, exchanges are keeping price below moving average to force a death cross and easy liquidate noob shorts. This is the type of perspective that I see over and over again in crypto, where it's like people will just think that the exchanges or the whales are in ultimate control of the price of Bitcoin, and that they are going to basically manipulate the markets such that every signal becomes a trap or a false signal. This is the type of perspective that somebody gets after trying to trade for a while and consistently losing. It's very easy to come to the conclusion that, hey, it's not my fault that I'm losing. It's these exchanges that are screwing me over. Every time I get a good signal, they are just either manipulating that signal, or they are knowing exactly how to make sure that I get liquidated. That's something that if you have that perspective, I would just say don't trade. I mean, don't follow my show. Don't follow the markets. Just buy and hold and forget about it. If you believe in Bitcoin long term, but you don't believe that you have any chance against the exchanges or against the whales, then you're wasting your time being around here. That's something I believe in firmly, that I do believe markets are manipulated. But if you are going to implement a trading system that tells you to sell death crosses when the price is near the death cross, and instead of doing that, you're going to be like, oh, well, I don't want the exchanges or the whales to just, liquidate me as soon as I enter. If you're always coming up with an excuse for why not to take a signal, then you're never going to be able to make money trading. And I am a firm believer that markets are manipulated all day, every day, specifically crypto. But I also believe that that doesn't prevent me from implementing a sound strategy and beating the markets. So I strongly encourage people with that perspective to give it some thought. Are the manipulators real? Are whales really causing false signals? Are they, really good at getting, noobs to get liquidated? I think that all of that is true. But if that is something that is going to prevent you from implementing a sound trading strategy, every time that you get a signal, you get these thoughts in your head that tell you, oh, I can't take this signal because of X, Y, and Z. That's the type of mind state that will never make money from trading. So I think it's important to give that type of stuff some thought. And if you don't think it's possible to, either protect yourself against the manipulations or to potentially join in on the party, if manipulators are taking the market up, then I mean, why not just go ahead and go long? If you're able to identify manipulation that well, then you can just if you can't beat them, maybe you can join them. But it's my opinion that you need to block all that stuff out, specifically when you have signals coming in. You just got to execute them. And sure, sometimes it is going to be a big trap, and you're going to buy the top and sell the bottom. That's quite all right. Okay. I guess there may be a confluence of some fibs that I'm not aware of, something to take a look at. I definitely do know one very important fib that we can transition into the weekly chart with. So this last move found support at the 0.618 fib level and immediately bounced up to the 0.382, but appears to be failing to support the 0.50. That's quite a bad sign if you ask me. Finding support at 0.618 and testing 0.382, I would want to see that stay above 0.5. And it doesn't look like that's happening. which may point to a retest of the 0.618. If we do retest that area, it ain't looking good as far as I'm concerned. That's not just based on fibs, but based on you know, the other things I'm looking at, incoming death crosses and whatnot. And you know what would actually make a lot of sense is this was a parabolic move as far as I'm concerned. Parabola that broke down, and what do you expect after a parabola breakdown? You expect an 80% retracement, which happens to be like a fib, which is very close, 78.6. So this is one of the main reasons I have been expecting 62-ish, is because there's this huge horizontal and we broke down a parabola, and when that happens, it's a very high likelihood that you retrace 80%. So that would be right around in here. That's why this has been the area where I've been really licking my chops at. But in the meantime, if I get some good setups, you know, I'm definitely going to take them. And this is definitely a very logical place for this to find a bottom. And we can't assume that 0.50 is breaking down. Notice last week closed above, and this week still has plenty of time to get back above. Creating a new low isn't the best, but there's still plenty of time for us to regain the 0.50, and as long as that happens, it's going to be looking quite bullish as far as I'm concerned. So yeah, that pretty much covers the weekly close. I mean, not a whole lot for me to say other than these are not bullish candles. You have kind of some red dojis type of thing. Closing above the 0.5 was very important. Immediately breaking it down, creating a new low is a little bit ugly, but like I said, there's plenty of time to go. Might as well take a look at the HA candles. Interesting to see that it's kind of showing the same thing, where it's like reversal candle here. Now it's color flipping. Very bad sign. We'll have to wait for the end of the week to see if it can sustain this color flip, or if it does get back above here. And this is again kind of confirming my expectation that if we don't move soon, it's going to be bad news. Like in the next 24, maybe call it 48 hours, if we don't make a move back above 89, then we are going to be in big danger of a death cross on the 4-hour, and this weekly is looking pretty ugly unless we're able to finish the week somewhere above 9,000, which is very realistic. If we do go ahead and make a move to the upside here in the next day or two, following through to above 9,000 is very realistic. Okay. So don't want to drag on too long here. Just will bring back the primary market structure that I see, and that's a bigger bear channel. So whereas in this bear channel that I'm looking at right here on the lower time frames, we're at the bottom of the channel. On the bigger time frame, we're actually at the top of the channel. I wonder what the EMAs are telling us. Guess we need another one. And this is going to take a minute. Pretty darn ugly. And this is kind of the action that will happen in a channel when you fail to break through the top boundary. Like right here, we kind of break down, we get the bearish cross with the 4 and the 9 EMA, first crossover we've gotten since here. And notice how powerful this has been. It's like sell signal 7,000, buy signal 37, sell signal up around 10, and then as we bounce to the top of the channel, it resists getting a buy signal, and instead it starts rolling over. That's very bearish, and would suggest a need to revisit the bottom of the channel, which, as we looked at last time, happens to be right in line with that fib level as well as the horizontals. And we draw that one as a zone. So I mean, if this thing doesn't break up from here, I'm going to be, like I said, probably entering short almost immediately, and really targeting this, a return to the bottom of this bear channel, a 80% retracement of the parabola, a retest of this major horizontal. It just wouldn't make sense to me if we break down here, we break down 85, that we would then find support at, again, at like this above 77. If we break down from here, this is the only thing that would make sense to me. Of course, the market often doesn't make sense to me, and that is, just the way that the cookie often crumbles. But this is, on the higher time frames, not showing bullish signs, and it is in fact showing some bearish signs with resisting the top of this channel, reversal candles, failing to get a bullish cross with the moving averages. None of that is very good. And we will round this out with a low time frame. And look at me, I might keep it well under an hour, which would be great. So these are 50 and 200 EMAs on the 15-hour chart pretty regularly, like on a daily basis. And same rules apply, essentially. We have been moving up today. Basically, we sold off, consolidated, resisted the 200. Like I said, same rules apply if you're during the 15-minute and you get a death cross price too far below. You wait for a first retest of the 200 to signal the entry. After that, resisted the 200, really was expecting new lows, and instead we got a trap, because as soon as we broke down this low here, it instantly reversed, and ever since has been chugging to the upside, slowly but surely, from 85.55 got up to 88.30 just today. And now here again is where things get interesting. As we get close to getting a bullish cross, like we're threatening it, we got above for a little bit and it doesn't look like we're supporting, but as we are threatening this golden cross, this is where I would expect volatility. If we resist here, then it should definitely come back for a retest to 85 and probably break down even a little bit lower. Whereas if we can support this 50, and support, we'll say, above 87.25, then that should lead to a golden cross. And if that happens, we should, I would think, take back off up to the 9,000 area. So that's what I'm seeing. What I'm doing is holding on to my long very cautiously with a finger on the trigger, ready to short if we get this death cross with the price in the same vicinity. That would be a short signal for me. If that doesn't happen, I'm expecting a pop to the upside. Okay. One last look at the chat, and then we'll call it a day. Bitcoin Bernoulli brings up a good point. Many people are familiar that November and December are generally really good months for Bitcoin. In general, those are some of the best months in Bitcoin, and that's kind of a significant reason in the back of my mind of why I'm expecting a move up from here, is that it's a good month for Bitcoin, and so is December. Bitcoin Bernoulli gives a bit of an explanation in that potentially Thanksgiving could have a lot to do with that, where families are all around and there's maybe a good time to talk to the family. Maybe they ask you, how's Bitcoin doing? Maybe you tell them for the first time that you're getting into it, and then the word kind of spreads organically that way. And that is the best way for Bitcoin to grow, is through word of mouth spreading organically. And that's one of the things that I believe most about Bitcoin is how it's such a grassroots operation, and that is very, very important to me. So I definitely agree that people sitting around the Thanksgiving table could be a really good time for demand to increase in Bitcoin. That being said, is there needs to be a rally leading into that. Say Bitcoin, it's down from 14,000 to 88, or maybe it takes another big leg down over the next couple of weeks from 88 down to 7 or whatever. Nobody's going to be interested in buying Bitcoin sitting around the Thanksgiving table. They're going to be more interested in kind of, feeling smart that they didn't buy it before, maybe when you told them to, or if that was, anywhere recently. Like the market psychology is very much driven by the recent price movements. And if Bitcoin can really take off from here and go back and regain 9,000, even better, regain 10,000 over the next couple of weeks, now people are going to be much more interested to hear about this Bitcoin thing that you're wanting to talk about. So I think it's really, really important what happens over these next couple of weeks. If it's bullish, then that will get a lot of people interested while they're sitting around the Thanksgiving table. If it's bearish, then probably most holders aren't going to want to really be bringing it up themselves, and if there is a discussion, then it's probably not going to be the most positive discussion, specifically if anybody was buying on that last run up from anywhere from 7 up to 14K. So I agree that the holidays and the holiday season and the family being around is a big reason why November and December are generally such good months, but I do firmly think that you need a pump to precede that in order to develop some sort of FOMO or some sort of actual interest outside of just skepticism. So good input. Let's see here. Okay. Just looking through the comments real quick. That's why I'm really curious how Black Friday will affect BTC. That's a good point. Yeah, that's definitely a good point. I'll have to give that some thought, because what are the types of people that really go out on Black Friday that are really like stoked to go, basically risk their lives at a Walmart or a mall to buy some discounted products? Are those the type of people that are investors, or are those the type of people that are just consumers? Like I'm inclined to think that there isn't much crossover between the Black Friday crowd and the investing or crypto crowd. People that are into crypto generally, this is just my opinion. My gut instinct tells me that people that are into Bitcoin, probably most of them aren't going to be out there on Black Friday, battling the masses to try to get a new Tickle Me Elmo or whatever the heck people are out there looking for. Most people that are into Bitcoin are into stacking sats. They're into spending their money on something that could become worth more down the road. They're into going against the grain and not doing what society tells them to do, and they're more seeing through the propaganda that backs something like Black Friday and resisting it. Maybe this is just me speaking from my perspective, because that's certainly how I am, and the people that I know that are into Bitcoin are not like into Black Friday. And if they did have a few extra $100 or $1,000 to spend, they would not be as interested in these Black Friday sales as they would be either discounted Bitcoin or Bitcoin that's going on a big pump. One of those two get the Bitcoin crowd often much more interested in that than anything else. So that being said, I will have to give that some more thought. It is interesting to think Black Friday draws a ton of national attention, gets people spending money they don't have for the most part, and if they do have it and they're deciding to buy Bitcoin or a new TV, there's got to be a very significant subsect of people that are BTC buyers, but they prefer a new flat screen for the Super Bowl coming up, or whatever the case may be. Hope that's not you guys. I hope that you guys are, living below your means and just setting aside the surplus and income and consistently putting that into Bitcoin. If that's the category that you fit in, then I feel very confident that you are going to be able to buy as many big screen TVs as you want in the years to come once Bitcoin does go to the moon again. So I will go ahead and call that a day. Thank you everybody for tuning in. Have been happy to watch the subscribers on the channel continue to chug in the right direction. Each time I log on, I've got I don't know, 1% or more new subscribers, and that's really neat to see. Tells me that whatever I'm doing is working on some level. It can be discouraging when you're trying to do your best and not seeing any change, or even seeing a decrease in interest. That can definitely be discouraging. So it's great to see a steady increase in the number of subscribers. Also love seeing lots of thumbs up and not too many thumbs down. That does make me feel good, and I appreciate everybody for their participation, for commenting in the chat, for smashing that thumbs up, and for subscribing to the channel. Last little shill is to make sure that you click the button, click the bell on the after subscribing, so you're notified when I go live. I'm not doing these as consistently moving forward, so it would be good if you want to see these, to make sure that you are notified as soon as the channel goes live. So thank everybody for tuning in. I will plan on catching up with you on the next time around.